Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another Supatease video, and I bet that you do not want to miss out on getting these exclusive limited edition PvP rewards from Dragonflight Season 1. This is the raddest looking dragon. I'm so happy that I got it, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing my best to give you information to get you on your path to be getting your gladiator mount, because your arena composition is probably 80% of the battle in climbing on the ladder. You don't want to be playing the wrong one, given the fact that we've only got like less than 3 weeks to be going after these rewards. It is way better to know ahead of time what kind of composition is going to be suited for you to be able to climb and get there, given the fact that we got no more time left. So without further ado, since we got to get this on the roll, I'm going to be bringing you my top 10 arena compositions for the end of 10.0.7. Moving in the number 10 position is going to be a Hogwarts favorite. It is going to be the Demonology Warlock or Destruction Warlock, Elemental Shaman, and Healer. I think that Preservation Evoker, Resto Druid, and Mistweaver will all be great options. I would recommend the Preservation Evoker because I'm expecting a lot of melee DPS towards the end of the season, and I think that this is one of the best healers for moving casters around the map and keeping them mobile to prevent them from being attacked. This is just going to be a slam damage composition. Coordinate some stuns together with your Stormkeeper and just put out massive amounts of pressure, which makes it a bit easier to play on the ladder than other combinations of spellcasters, which is why it would be my number one. In terms of double spellcaster, definitely going to be a strong one and a favorite if you can focus on kiting around the map, keeping your enemies at a distance, and maximizing your damage. So definitely one that is worth checking out. Coming in at the number 9 position is going to be TSG. It's a classic. I think that it could have a bit of a comeback, but it is coming a little bit lower on the list just because I'm not 100% certain on it or sold about Unholy Death Knights. But this is, again, going to be really straightforward composition. Run in on a target, grip the healer in, cleave everything down, and do as much damage as possible. If you keep that simple strategy, you are going to see success. I had a math teacher in high school that said, keep it simple, stupid. That is the best way to have success in this game at this time. Don't overcomplicate things. Run in onto a target, grip the healer in, AoE stun, try and cleave the team, Spear Bastion, drop as much damage as you can in those situations, and then just keep rampaging as much pressure as possible. It's going to be really high sustained damage. Recommend this probably with a Resto Shaman, Preservation Evoker, or a Mistweaver, or a Resto Druid in this kind of order that I've got listed, but definitely a strong cleave, and cleaves are going to be kind of the name of the game, I think, towards the end of Season 1 here. In the number 8 position is going to be Demon Hunter Death Knight. So this one I think is a little bit easier than the Arms Warrior Death Knight. It's going to be a little bit less fragile, and it's just going to be more agile as well. Demon Hunter with way more crowd control. It's the same type of deal. Grip the healer in, AoE stun, Blender Ball, destroy everything in your sight, do as much damage as possible, and it's going to be a little bit more passively tanky than the Arms Warrior version, although it is pretty close, and you're going to be more frequently able to access stuns and cleave damage and more AoE damage, which is definitely going to be more favorable, especially if you're coming in at like a medium level of skill, or you want an easier ride. You want it to be forgiving and maximum amounts of damage, and Demon Hunter Death Knight is going to be able to deliver that to you. Now, coming in at number 7 might come as a bit of a surprise, but it is Kitty Cleave. This is Feral Druid Arms Warrior. With the Ret Paladin nerfs, I think other classes are likely going to start slotting in the position of the Ret Paladin in a few compositions, and this is one of those. I think that the off healing from the Feral Druid is tremendous. I think that the single target and AoE pressure that Feral Druid can do is quite adequate, so definitely a well-suited comp. Feral Druid is going to be having a little bit more options here, I think, towards the end of the season. This is one of the best comps. Could be the best. I'm a little bit debated on that. I think Disc Priest could be a great substitute for this now that the mana changes, especially if you just want to focus on ramming forward as much damage as possible. And this is a comp that's honestly been sleeper a couple of times at the end of a PvP season, where I see a lot of teams running on the ladder, but it's not really talked about or perhaps seen a lot in tournaments, but definitely one that is worth checking out. Moving into the number 6 position is going to be the Turbo Cleave. Oh my god, I put an Enhancement Shaman on a top 10 list here, but I do think that Turbo Cleave is going to be a pretty strong composition, given the fact that I'm expecting Warriors to be doing very well at the moment. And Enhancement Shaman is going to be the best melee into any sort of caster situation. A little bit weaker in in double melee mirrors, but if Death Knights are more popular, this was a classic Death Knight killer, so I did want to leave it here on the list about middle of the pack. Definitely going to be packing a lot of support. Really good Death Knight Slayer, really good Spellcaster Slayer, and if those are becoming more prevalent with the changes that are coming through, it's definitely going to be in a great spot. Resto Druid's going to be a really good healer for this, as well as Disc Priest and possibly Mistweaver Monk. With the Fist Weaving changes, I'm not sure if Mistweaver will be the best overall. Might be better to stay with a Druid or a Priest. Number 5 is Jungle. I think that Jungle is really straightforward composition. Stun Trap the healer, attack another target, do as much damage to it as possible, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And with the changes to Disc Priest, I think this comp's going to have a lot of longevity now in terms of mana retention. So it's basically like those melee cleaves with that extra layer of crowd control, but that extra layer of crowd control makes it so much more lethal. So definitely a powerful composition. And if you have these specs available to you, I think Beast Mastery would be the best spec for Hunter on this. And I wouldn't kind of stray too far off of that, given how much time is left at the end of the season. You're going to really want that ranged mobility, not be too stationary towards the end of this patch. Moving in on the number 4 position is Boomkin HAVOC Demon Hunter. I think that this comp was already doing pretty well in the Ret Paladin patch, and now will likely be doing even better. Here, it's just going to be doing a lot of damage. This one's a little bit more intricate in terms of crowd control. Balance Druid is less popular, so it's, again, you're not going to see it as often, but I think you will see quite a few of the skilled Balance Druids towards the top. So if you want to polish up your play of Balance Druid Demon Hunter, this might be one of your best comps, if not your best comp available for the end of the season. I've had a lot of success with Preservation Evoker. Again, the mobility of it, the range damage of it, but I think that Shaman could be a good substitute as well in this composition. The pros and cons are Preservation's better into double melee. Rest of Shaman's going to be better into caster DPS, so it really depends on what you're queuing into, but they're both decently well-rounded despite the strengths and weaknesses in this composition. It's going to be doing a lot of burst damage, a lot of sustained damage. Again, the goal is to crowd control the healer, in-cap Fear from the Demon Hunter, Root Solar Beam for the Boomkin, Cyclones from the Balance Druid, and then focus down on a DPS target. Has a lot of swap potential, huge damage profile, definitely a strong composition. And now we're moving into the top 3, and I bet you guys are wondering, like, what's going on with the top 3 since the changes that have occurred now moving in onto Tuesday. The number 3 composition is going to be Arms Destro Warlock. So this was a comp before the Ret Paladin patch that was absolutely nasty. It would just cut people down, did so much unhealable damage, and I think that it's honestly been kind of sleeping under the wings and is still a really solid composition to do just that. So bringing in a Resto Druid, a Resto Shaman, or a Preservation Evoker as a healer, possibly a Discipline Priest if the mana regeneration is strong enough on it. I could see it working just to add even more damage to the mix, but this will be a very scary composition. This will be a nasty Destro Destroyer, nasty Cleave Dispenser. I think a really well-rounded composition. I'm honestly wondering why I ended up putting it down on the number 3 position. I guess I might still be a little bit traumatized from my experiences with Ret Paladins, but this is definitely a comp that maybe you might have slipped your mind, but it is definitely one that is going to be powerful on the ladder. Moving into the number 2 position, did you think it was going anywhere? Demonology Ret Paladin. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think even despite the changes in nerfs, I just think that these classes are some of the most durable, which is really important when climbing on the ladder. You want it to be forgiving, just be tanky, do damage, stay alive, and attrition your opponent. I think that this composition will be one of the best to do that, but perhaps not the best ladder comp overall, given the fact that it's not in the number 1 position, but for all the same reasons that it's still or was and still is likely going to be a powerful composition. Is just its durability, its longevity. It's one of the best comps for being able to survive a very long time, given the toolkits that it has available to it, the utility from the Ret towards its healer, the Demonology Warlock to protect the Ret, multiple stun locks, mortal wounds. It's really well-rounded, really tanky, and even with the changes coming through, I think that that's likely not going to change too much. But the best ladder composition that has an insane track record through multiple expansions, you really can't go wrong with it. It's basically bulletproof, and even with the changes coming forward, it's still my expectation that this will be the best comp to be able to climb on the ladder, given the fact that you've got limited time and you really want to go for those rewards. And that number 1 composition is Ret Paladin Warrior. Even given the changes, Warrior's not receiving absolutely none. They're still very powerful. Ret Paladins, while they are going to become a little bit squishier, I think are likely still going to be just as deadly. And funnily enough, with this composition, it's pretty once you can play any healer you want. So it's going to be a way easier comp, and looking for group for finding a healer and starting to have some success. Resto Shaman, Disc Priest probably going to be the best ones. Druid, Mistweaver, great ones as well, and Preservation Evoker I'm sure even would work on this composition. So it's going to be better for finding groups because it works with so many different healers. It's very straightforward. Just run in, stun the healer, stun your kill target with Stormbolt, Hammer of Justice, do as much damage as possible, zug all day, and yep, you're going to be on your way to Gladiator with no surprise here. I think with this composition, given its track record, it was just undeniable for me to be putting this on the #1 position. But I hope that you guys enjoyed the list here, or it's got your brain going in terms of what to expect here with the end of the season. And I wish you the success on pushing towards your Gladiator. So thank you very much for watching the video, and I will catch you in the next one.